In 1991, the eyes of the entire world were locked on him. At just 13 years old, he appeared before us in a legendary role within one of the greatest action movies in cinema history. He was Hollywood's new golden boy, a brilliant future, millions of fans, and unbelievable wealth awaited him. But when the cameras stopped rolling, this incredible dream slowly began to morph into a dark nightmare. Welcome to Iconic Lives. This is the tragic downfall of Edward Furlong. Edward Walter Furlong was born on August 2, 1977, in California. His childhood was spent within a highly challenging and complex family structure. He never knew his father, and his mother Eleanor had immense difficulty maintaining control over her life. This unstable home environment led to young Edward being raised by his aunt and uncle. He led an ordinary, even troubled life, completely far from the Hollywood glitter. Yet, his destiny would completely change in a club. Met in Gearin, casting director Molly Finn was searching for a rebellious youth for the movie Terminator 2: Judgment Day. Hanging out at a boys and girls club in Pasadena, Furlong immediately caught Finn's attention. He had zero acting experience, but that natural, rebellious look in his eyes was an absolute perfect fit for the character of John Connor. Finn invited him to audition. When Edward stood before James Cameron, the director instantly knew he had found his rebel. An era was beginning. Released in the summer of 1991, Terminator 2 created a literal revolution in the cinema world. Furlong shared the lead role with Arnold Schwarzenegger and practically commanded the screen. His raw performance garnered massive praise from both hardcore critics and everyday audiences. Instantly, he transformed from an ordinary street kid into a global superstar. His posters decorated teen bedrooms and magazines obsessed over him. But the price of this sudden fame would be heavy. The massive wealth brought by fame completely severed Furlong's already fragile family ties. His mother and aunt engaged in a fierce legal battle over his custody and the millions of dollars he earned. This brutal process placed an unbelievable psychological burden on a 15-year-old boy's shoulders. Eventually, the court ruled that Edward should live as an emancipated minor. He was completely free, but this total freedom meant having absolutely no one left to protect him. Until the mid-90s, Furlong successfully became one of the most sought-after faces in independent cinema. He brought powerful, deeply complex characters to life in films like American Heart, A Home of Our Own, and Pecker. Critics wrote that he was not just a one-hit wonder, but a talent possessing rare and genuine depth. He was capable of acting opposite legendary names like Meryl Streep and Liam Neeson. From the outside, everything looked like a flawless success story. By 1998, he delivered one of the most striking and unforgettable performances of his career. In American History X, he played Danny Vineyard, a confused youth following in the footsteps of his neo-Nazi brother. The scenes he shared with Edward Norton were etched into cinema history. Furlong reflected the character's internal conflicts, intense fears, and tragedy with incredible realism. That year, many authorities were absolutely certain he would be his generation's greatest actor. Yet behind the scenes, behind that bright smile, a massive destruction was hiding. Early fame, unmonitored wealth, and deeply rooted traumas were slowly poisoning him. Long nights spent in underground clubs, dangerous friendships, and alcohol began taking center stage in his daily life. Illicit drugs became a horrific escape route to ease the profound loneliness and intense stress he constantly felt. The ruthless, grinding gears of Hollywood had already begun crushing his spirit. The greatest breaking point in his career occurred during the prep for Terminator 3: Rise of the Machines. The studio desperately wanted him back for the John Connor role. This was a massive, multi-million-dollar opportunity that could have saved his career. However, Furlong was fired from this legendary role after failing mandatory substance abuse tests. The character he created was given away. This monumental loss dragged him deep into a dark, destructive vortex of despair. The 2000s turned into a dark era for Furlong, spent bouncing between courtrooms, rehab centers, and police stations. Successive arrests, domestic violence allegations, and drug possession news never left the tabloid headlines. The once adorable child star had morphed into a deeply troubled adult, known mainly for his mugshots. His unique physical charm was entirely gone, and the terrifying, heavy toll of aging and chronic substance abuse had settled permanently onto his sad face. His private life was trapped in the absolute middle of a destructive storm. Although his marriage to actress Rachel Bella initially seemed to provide some balance, it was soon shattered by violent fights. Bella obtained a restraining order, stating Furlong caused severe harm to her and his surroundings while under the influence. The brutal custody battles over his own child stood before him as a cruel, terrifying mirror reflecting the painful traumas of his own dark childhood. Major studios now completely refused to work with him. To survive and pay off his mounting debts, he began taking roles in incredibly low-budget, poor-quality independent thrillers or direct-to-DVD projects. Productions like The Crow, Wicked Prayer served as bitter proof of just how far he had drifted from his glory days. He could barely stand straight in front of the camera, constantly forgot his lines, and retained absolutely no trace of his brilliant former acting energy. Years of severe heroin and meth addiction caused irreversible devastation to Furlong's physical appearance. The candid photographs taken by ruthless paparazzi on the streets plunged his remaining fans into deep sorrow. His teeth were decaying, he had gained excessive weight, and that iconic spark of life in his eyes was totally extinguished. The man once hailed as a handsome young talent was now an exhausted, unrecognizable lost soul struggling to survive on city sidewalks. Throughout this dark era of collapse, Furlong was hospitalized multiple times for severe overdoses, literally returning from the brink of death. Friends and former colleagues desperately tried to extend a helping hand. They checked him into luxury rehab centers repeatedly. Yet the massive void and trauma inside him were so deep that no treatment offered a lasting cure. Every time he was discharged, he would rapidly relapse into those destructive, deadly old habits within weeks. The year 2013 became the definitive date he hit rock bottom. He was arrested once again due to domestic violence allegations involving an ex-girlfriend, spending months inside a jail cell. Those cold, intensely lonely days behind bars finally forced him to accept that he had completely ruined his life. The court mandated his participation in a long, strictly enforced rehabilitation program. If he failed to utilize this final chance, his story would likely end in a tragic death. But a genuine miracle occurred. Following that agonizing process, Furlong decided to truly change. His reconstruction phase was intensely painful. He got new teeth, fought tirelessly to regain physical health, and most importantly, managed to stay completely sober. In rare interviews, he described what a terrifying monster addiction truly is. As he spoke of feeling lucky to be alive while many friends died, that profound, agonizing regret was fully audible in his shaking voice. Looking back today, Edward Furlong's story is not just about squandered massive potential, but also the clearest proof of how Hollywood viciously consumes child stars. He will forever remain the rebellious John Connor in the memories of millions of devoted viewers. However, in real life, he became the symbol of the brutal prices paid behind fame's bright showcase. The simple fact that he actually managed to survive is, in itself, a colossal success story worthy of true celebration. The dark, bottomless pit this once-peak actor fell into, and his struggle to escape clearly reminds us that fame does not always bring salvation. If you enjoyed this striking rise and fall story of Edward Furlong, please don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel for more dark biographies. Do you think Hollywood should do more to prevent these kinds of heartbreaking tragedies? Let's meet in the comments below. See you again in the very next shocking documentary.